Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel. No flying videos this weekend because unfortunately, or well, I suppose fortunately for some, we had some drag racing at the airfield. So if there's drag racing, you can't really be flying model aircraft in the middle of it. So every community group has the opportunity to use our airfield, and I've got no problems at all with other community groups using it from time to time, which they do. So, aviation is one of the least oft pastimes engaged in that airfield. It's basically down to model flying and automotive activities, be it driver training or drag racing. But what I do after each drag event is I usually go out and have a bit of a walk down the runway, because quite often, when you've got cars under extreme stress, bits fall off them. To be honest, I've found the most amazing things walking down the runway after a weekend of drag racing. So I think we'll do a bit of a walk today. Actually, last time was really good. There was nothing on the runway. Excellent. This time, I'm not so sure now. It was a 1/8 mile drag, I think they said this weekend. So I would expect anything to be not too far away from here, where the vehicles change from hard acceleration to hard braking is usually where the problem arises. Suddenly the tension on bolts changes and they break, or screws pop out, or those little plastic things that hold the various attachments to vehicles fly off and bits fall on the ground. So let's just take a little bit of a walk. Excuse me while I reposition myself. Let's take a little bit of a walk down the runway and see what we can find. Now there's lots of little shreds of rubber. You can see, I can get the camera lined up, where is it? Here. There's bits of tyre everywhere. Okay, that's par for the course if you're going to be, making smoke and travelling at high speed. So yeah, there is a lot of debris, but that's fairly safe. It's not going to cause any problems. No one's going to get killed by a little piece of rubber. So we've got no problems with that. So, so far it's all looking very good. Certainly a lot better than it has been in the past. We do get stones. What is this rubber? Oh, this is rubber, but sometimes we get stones brought in in the tyres of the vehicles, and that's a bit of an issue on a runway, because stones can be flicked up and cause all sorts of problems. If they can chip a propeller or potentially even go into a windscreen or something. You don't know what they're going to do. So, and from this angle, I quite often see reflections of pieces of metal. If there's a screw or something, hang on, what's this? Hello, here we go. Okay, let's have a look at this. Our first find of the day. Look at that. This is a bolt, and you can see actually it's been sort of, I can't see through the viewfinder, there's too much light here, but hopefully you can see that there's just here, it's actually been pressed into this tar stuff. It's probably been run over, and there it is. It's just of course this could have come off an aircraft, it could have been here a while, but I don't know that I expect this sort of stuff to fall off aeroplanes. They tend to be a bit more carefully looked after than your average vehicle, but there we go. So that's an M8 bolt or something. Yeah. So let's just keep looking along, see if we can find anything else. You never know your luck, but I've picked this up. I'll be taking it off the runway, because that obviously could cause a power of damage if it got flicked up by a wheel and hit a propeller or something, or even flicked into a cockpit or windscreen on an aeroplane. So there you go. We've just saved somebody a lot of money, perhaps. Again, I'm just seeing at this stage just large chunks of rubber, which I don't care about. Don't think anyone else cares about. Let's have a look over here. There's also a lot of avian crap, bird crap on the runway. The birds that just nest, or not nest, but they hang around the airfield. They crap all over the place. Makes a hell of a mess, but again, it's not a safety issue, unless there's some sort of disease in there we don't know about. But even then, I wouldn't go out licking the runway if I was you. Actually, something worth pointing out. See these squiggly marks here? Now, I don't know if I'm pulled right out. I am. The runway's got cracks in it. It's a very old runway, and the council was looking at having it totally resurfaced for about $250,000 in costs, which is hugely expensive considering how little use this gets as a runway. So what they've done instead, which is a very wise move, I think very good. Council doesn't have many good ideas, but this was one of them, was to get this sort of this bitumen stuff sprayed over the cracks, and effectively it seals up the cracks and stops the runway from degrading further, because the mechanism whereby the cracks cause problems are that in the winter the water gets into the cracks, and then we get a big frost, it freezes, and it causes the cracks to widen, and it's sort of like a continuously worsening situation where the wider the cracks are, the more water they hold, so the more expansion there is when the water freezes. Now, just trying to look for a decent crack, but they've done a modestly good job of covering them all, so you can't really see where they are, and the damn flies are out now. But here we go. Perhaps we can see there's cracks here. Here's a crack, but this is not a really big crack. Some of the cracks go right through several layers, so that's why they've put this stuff on. And it's amazing substance. It is really, really amazing, because it's like tar, but it never really goes hard. It remains rubbery, and apparently there's some kind of polymer fibers in it to stop it from peeling and all sorts of things, and it's done a remarkable job of holding the runway together. I'm going to show you at the other end now where they do the burnouts. You will not believe how resilient this stuff really is. Okay, here we are at the end of the runway where they do the burnouts, and as I say, this is incredibly resilient material. You can see we've got a big burnout mark around. Oops, let me point the right. Big burnout mark here. Someone's done a big burnout. They've run right across the top of this tar stuff, but look, it's still in place. It hasn't got sloughed off or whatever. It's stayed where it is. So even though the tire was spinning, burning out rubber, and look, yuck. The tar, or this polymer stuff, has actually stayed in place. That is fantastic. It's incredibly resilient. I'm so impressed with this material. I mean, look at where the burnout marks have gone, and look how it hasn't just peeled it off. Brilliant stuff. However, even this polymer stuff isn't immune to where some part of the vehicle's dragged on the ground, as appears to be the case here. It's sliced into that polymer, and it's also sliced into the runway. So there are some issues with using the airfield for vehicle operations if the vehicles are not particularly roadworthy. Excuse the wind noise. So there we are. I hope you can see all the burnout marks. I mean, yeah, it's great. It hasn't damaged the runway very much at all, but as I said, we do get issues like, here's a stone that's been brought up, and this is actually quite a sharp one. I notice it's got some sharp edges of that. Could easily go through an aircraft tyre, so I'll take that with me. But there are a lot of other stones here at this end of the airfield where they do the burnouts, which have been brought up by getting stuck in the tread of the tyres of the vehicles as they come back down a gravel return road from the drag racing. But all in all, it's better to have an airfield like this being used for drag racing or whatever than just sitting around degrading because, you know, it's not being used for aviation. So I've got no problems with the drag racers using this any more than I have a problem with anyone else using it. The only thing I wish is that there was a little bit more cleanup afterwards, for obvious reasons, but hey, you know, nobody's perfect. Yes. And here they go, taking away the portaloos. Guess a lot of people had accidents, had a fright. Their cars were too fast, and poop came out. Who knows? Anyway, so we also have the big toilets over here. So there's been a lot of toilets here this weekend. Look at those ones. Everywhere you look, portaloos. Brilliant. And some other things of note, I suppose, while I got you on the video here. The CAA New Zealand quarterly accident or incident statistics came out, and of course, yes, drones do figure, no fatalities. But there were a couple of incidents worth noting. A drone flew into a bus, so I think if a bus driver sees a drone, all buses should be grounded. Obviously too dangerous. There were no injuries. I don't think there was any damage except to the drone. And in another report, a drone fell into a grassy field when it flew out of range or something. The control link failed and it fell into a grassy field. Oh my goodness, how scary would that be? Yeah, that's... And of course the usual pilot sightings. I think one crashed into a building somewhere in the city because there was an idiot at the controls, obviously. Yes, there are idiots who fly drones. I'm not going to protect them. But basically, you know, nothing really amazing to report in terms of the last quarter's incident reports here in New Zealand. The aviation sector seems to be ticking along quite nicely. And for those who have asked, and I have had a lot of emails about the Christchurch mosque shootings. Tragic, absolutely tragic, outrageous event. Should never have happened. Not much I or anyone else can do about it, I suppose, really. Certainly not in hindsight. I live quite a long way from where the shootings occurred, so there was no direct effect, but it has done one thing. It has unified a nation against idiots with guns. And I'm not anti-gun. A gun is just a tool. I mean, if people don't look at the UK, they ban guns, so people use knives, and still hundreds of people dying in the UK every year because of knives. So it doesn't matter what you ban, the idiots with the evil intent will still find a way to kill people. Look at the Oklahoma City bombing, a truck. It doesn't matter what you've got, you can turn it to evil purposes. So it's not a gun issue, it's a mental health issue, because no one in their right mind would do what this guy did. The guy's obviously a complete fruitcake, complete nutter. And so we need to spend more time looking at mental health issues, I think, before we go saying, well, let's ban all guns. And I think the other issue is it's a lack of tolerance. We have become an extremely intolerant society, as witnessed by the drone situation. Ooh, don't like these drones. Ooh, I'm not going to tolerate drones, even though I've never actually seen one. The whole thing, people have become so entitled, and they feel that their opinion is the only opinion that matters. And they're intolerant of people who have differing opinions, and this is showing up in the form of violent attacks. Totally unacceptable. We need to become a more tolerant society, and we need to say, hey, I don't agree with this person, I don't hold the same beliefs as they do, but I will uphold their right to hold their beliefs, because myself, I'm not a religious person. I don't believe that there is a God or gods, but I know some people do believe in gods and God. Whether it's Islam or Christianity or whatever, I'm not going to slate them for their beliefs. I mean, in a free world, you're entitled to your beliefs. As long as you don't try and impose them on others, I've got no problems with it. So I'm really disappointed that we have morons with knives, guns, bombs, trucks, whatever, trying to suppress the views and the beliefs of others. Totally unacceptable in a modern society. But one of the problems we have, I think, is we've all become so politically correct, you can't possibly offend anybody without repercussions, and we have to grow a bit of a hide. And we have to realise, okay, I don't agree with this guy, but hey, man, I'm not going to have a hissy fit and grab a gun or a bomb or a truck or whatever and go and kill someone because of it. No, tough cheese. You have to share this planet with everybody else. So grow a bit of a backbone and just accept that other people will not always agree with you. They'll have different beliefs, and despite those different beliefs, we can all live together. It just requires a little bit of tolerance. There you go. That's my video for today. Hope you enjoyed that. I have the foam board has arrived, so I'm going to do the build video this afternoon. It'll take probably a couple of days to edit up. That's for the sub 250 gram, which I'm calling the Outlaw 250 because it's outside the law in Canada anyway. Sub 250, pretty much, just use common sense and good judgment. So the Outlaw 250 it is, and that'll be online in a day or two. Stay tuned for that. Comments in the usual place, and thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to. If you don't, I don't care. Bye for now.